Okay, good morning, everyone. So we'll do the prayer to Manjushri. Lamandam gumbo jambal yang lan chanza lo kange lon jin nyen jindra nidra namda eraza jinyen dengun jijin zijin nidjin tugar lekbam zen kanda sibe chandra mari mentum dungal jizr ven rozo kunla puji tarze yen lai zhu ju yang den zong zhu dren che zhu nyu mo nyen lu le ji cha zhu zhu zi jin ma re men zi dong a nyu gu jin yen jun zi ral ji nam de nen da jin sa ju tar zi yuen den lin zo en ja zi tu wen gu chu zhan chu dang chu nyen jin zi Dale menzen jambe yon la ende umara pazana de 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 Marabazana 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 de Mar Umarabazana de Marabazana 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 Umarabazana de Zeden Jeje Chenra Uzrenje Dale de Mumbaraza Kadan Denje Junlo Tobaye Lodre Pobe Nawa Sandu Su and Zonje Danje Jingo Redan Jingo Janzu Jabda Padin Zonda Majiba Palawa Jinja Jinja Beja Jindu Dima Meba Languera Dude Kozumbu Bajimbe Chanza Jinja Zucho Shivanen Zerab Tamje Tu Jinja Zun Zembranze Duzo Kongi Jazanda Mengam Gesar Zembe Nonda Shin Zembe Zeve Zendu Marvendu Kun Migen Zejur Tuji Dama Kune Juren Jiden Sumji Konjabe Tuambe mogarbe jabe tirin dale yenzurjon, jinzolimbe mendombo ziren jave nanduran jenin jedo, tenzobe jinden jombarbe. Pema junen dale yenzurjon, bulu bari antewadan, tome nyen cholan chujinda, chujun janem nipawazo. Damlin jencho namjenda e shon. Ore de gani jenyo me gulo yenden gunjunga vesha sardo, nyimbi denzi bebe nanjurba. Longchen ramjam sha jenda e shon. Ridon jamba shunu jina le, gombe long le po beder jidro, longdo chunze nyamze ngawanjur. Mipam jambi anjenda e shon. Kange dal hariba loba dan, doji tenche menga nang la so, laba zadan ungurishin labi. Ngui tenchen la menda e shon. Namo Guru Jinyimba Mendunje Shizala Kunjaran Juntuji Jimbe Jin Duji Galaga Mentanawa Palden Lami Jajenda Yeshon Yende Sanje Kanda Nyamnaya Kadin Sanje Kunlel Habigwen Savi Lami Shala Suande Tosundruye Lamna Chela Jur Konda Jujur Dungi Jidena Deshelo Marjurba Kanzuda Dedetambi Chuji Charbebe Sembar Devanta Dandir Jeje Namwarian Tamba Lai Kedan Ludanu Jinge Ndugunda Dame Kenamda Dua Kunji Danam Jizambar Tamje Kedu Susuru Tujurunchi Majundro Ananka Danyam Besimjen Tamje Namdul Tenji Deval Aname Bayamba Burzo Bisanji Jingo Kwanrim Barchela Chine Janko Brasha Te Chedu Teba Chimbe Shunlu Jazi Chimbo Shiwala Teni Jizebe Shunchembo Chanju Sembi Jobalan Juba Teni Tsuchindu Sene Nyamso Langwar Gyu Nyamdo Samba Chanju Chudu Tujibadan Chede Sen Sals Kanshi Sembar Javi Chujirimba Dela So that as always that having a right motivations before doing any kind of meritorious activity, it is a crucial point to transfer our actions into the cause of enlightenment. So therefore, here this is also considering as a meritorious activity, which is the teaching and listening or the studying the scriptures and the way of Bodhisattva's life. So itself is the positive or the virtuous activity. So therefore it is to worth, or it is very beneficial to the tincture the mind of awaken with these activities. So to tincture the mind of awareness or mind of bodhicitta with this activity is through generating the awakened mind in this way. So for the sake of all the motherly sentient beings equal to its space, and really wishing from bottom of mind to free them from the suffering and the cause of suffering, which is karma and afflictive emotions, and then to lead them to complete enlightenment. And for this purpose, I'm going to listening this Mahayana scripture composed by Shantideva, the way of Bodhisattva's life. And then I will going to try my best to implement as much as one could with that kind of intention or preparations, kind of like listen this teaching, and that is the awakened mind, which call this awakened mind bodhicitta. When this mind tincture with all our meritorious activity, then any kind of our meritorious activity exactly could become the cause to achieve enlightenment. So therefore it is always a crucial point or important to generate this awakened mind, cultivate this bodhicitta before doing any kind of meritorious activities. So therefore, and generate that awakened mind. And then together with it, beside that, kind of like a listen carefully, the conduct or the manner should prepare oneself to listen this scripture is the listen carefully, means that to focus your ear to the voice of the teachings, and how to say, in an excellent way, means while studying or listening, try not to tincture any emotions, any particularly afflictive emotions. Try not to tincture with this activity. And then implant or the memory, kind of like a meaning as well as the words which describing the meaning. With that kind of preparation, listen this teaching. And then the teaching, actual teaching itself, we are studying the way of Bodhisattva's life, which has 10 chapters and with the 4th theme. So far we already studied 7th chapter. We are at the moment 8th chapter, which is the meditative concentrations, chapter of meditative concentrations. And among the four theme, this which is the what do you call it? The 2 of them we already studied, which is how to cultivate the bodhicitta and how to receive bodhisattva's vow, and then without transgression, how can one maintain, and if transgressed, how one can kind of say rebuild or what do you call it? Repaired. And these 2 themes is covered by the those first, 6th chapters, which we already studied. And then the 3rd theme is and how to develop or improve our Mahayana spiritual path, or we can call the bodhicitta, that ultimately until what stage one can develop that. And this is the 3rd theme, which is 3rd theme is guided by the 7, 8, and 9 chapter. So to improve or to develop our bodhicitta, and it requires diligence, meditative concentrations, and wisdom. So these are the 3 things it's required. And then how to have a diligence within oneself, that which we already studied, by avoiding the laziness. And then laziness, how many distinguished laziness are there, how many types of laziness are there, and those we already studied. By avoiding those laziness, and what remains within oneself is the diligence. And also the diligence means the kind of like a enthusiastic or towards the virtuous activities, and such as this studying or doing any kind of meditative activity. And that we already covered. And then now here we are studying that how to develop the meditative concentrations. So for this meditative concentrations, and Shantideva introducing what will going to be the exact contrary or exactly the things which prevent us to develop our meditative concentrations, which is the, in short, the concern, mundane concern. So, or we can say like a not avoiding our physical from crowdedness and mental from distractions. And a little bit elaborate, mainly it related with the relatives and the wealth, the finance and reputations and fame. And the third one is the gender, the male to the female, female to the male, like that gender problem. So that is what it means in short, what it means the mundane concern. So when we free our this desire emotion from this three object, and and when our mind is free from this three object, and that mind will going to be the perfect vessel to cultivate, to develop the meditative concentrations. With that, the contrary of meditative concentration is already we studied. And after avoiding all this, and then relying or depending on a solitude, and then based on a relying on solitude, then just not stay in a solitude, but to cultivate the mind of awaken, the bodhisattva. So here, and actually I told you already before, but just reminding you. So the object for the developing meditative concentrations, we can have many. There's a various. But here, Shantideva recommending, according to these scriptures, to choose the object to develop the meditative concentrations, the bodhicitta. To do that, and need to develop the sense of equalness first, and then the need to develop the sense of being able to exchange within oneself and others, being able to exchange self and others. And if we really able to do this, if we really train well to have that really genuine sense of equalness, and after that able to exchange self and others, putting oneself other in others shoes, and let other put in one's own shoes, like in this way, training the developing the sense of exchanging, making able to exchange self and others. And then whoever able to do this, and there's a great potential that in particular individual can develop the cultivate the mind of awakened or bodhisattva. So that's how these are Shantideva. These are with in this scripture, Shantideva kind of like a guiding in a very orderly and step by step, that kind of like anybody can start with it, that through these teachings. Uh, then all the six pranchana paramitas, he is leading step by step, generosity and morality, and then patience, and then develop diligence, and then meditation, and then wisdom. So you see, that's how we should kind of like improve our Mahayana spiritual training. So the Mahayana spiritual training, mainly that training this six pranchana paramitas is the mainly practice of the Mahayana path. So, and then to do that, we already studied this, how to develop the sense of equalness. And then after that, now here at the moment, what we are studying is the how to develop the sense, how to develop the sense of able to exchange self and others. And that the how to say, so far we are already completed until until stanza 133. So this, what you call training about exchanging self and others is actually starts from stanza 111, 111, from 111 and onwards till now 133. And mainly that Shantideva introduce that how we can accept the others, like how to say, accept other as self, and then the quality and faults of considering self and others corely, uh, discard the self-clinging. Sorry, how to discard the self-clinging, and then after that, and describing the quality and faults of considering self and others corely or mainly. Yeah. So far, those are we already studied till now. This stanza 133. And then today from here, stanza 134. So this stanza 134 to stanza 139. So almost like how many stanzas? So the 5 is stanzas, is it? 6 is stanza, yeah. This 6 is stanzas, and after telling all this reason, so therefore it is Shantideva now, it is kind of like a concluding that it is saying, therefore, definite one must implement exchange self with others. So this is the subject. This is the subject talks about from this stanza onward till 139. So how Shantideva kind of like and the telling us this, that therefore definite one must implement exchanging self with others. That kind of like a strongly recommending, certainly that one must exchange self and others, because that will going to be the benefit for oneself. How then it is describing here, jigden dana tsewa kangyo dang jigdan dungal jinye yojurpa dekun dadu zimba le shuna dechen deko dala chishichas. So now this stanza is actually also introducing one very important kind of like a view that according to the Buddhism or the Buddhist point of view, and mainly or the greatest evil to whom we consider as the greatest evil, demon. So we call so far demon or evil, right? So the evil or the demon, which is the greatest demons or evil. So here introducing the identifications of demons according to the Buddhist point of view. So which is the main demon or the core demon based on a Buddhist point of view. And then this is also like one very unique view, which does not have within different philosophers. None of the other philosophers, I think, they view as this, that viewing the identifying the demons, the evils as this. This is kind of like we can say the one of the unique Buddhist view. How it is describing now, first let me read how they translate it. And it is saying, all the harm with which this world is rife, right? Rife, so many, right? Rife. All fears and suffering that there is. Clinging to the I has caused it. So what am I to do with this great demon? You see now here. So this is the very, I don't think none of the other philosopher talks about this. This self is always important. But here now it is talking about self is the one, the source of all the problems. Within this, life as well also for the future. Anyway, so whatsoever the difficulties one may facing, behind that, the main cause for it is the self, is the I. Therefore, this I is the considering as a great demon. So there's a no greater demon than the I. So you see now, this is completely very unique view. And logically or historically or advisely, from which angle we look, that what Shantideva introducing here, it really makes sense. It has a reason. It has a kind of like a, it is rational. Even through our intelligence, we can sense that. We can definitely sense that. And through historically, already proved it. Anyway, here, what it is saying, like Jigdendana, all the harm with which this world is rife. So what does it mean, the rife? All the harm with which this world is rife. That harm can be kind of like a understood as within both our physical and mental, within our physical, within our mental. Those like to the physical, like a wound, to diseased and ill and unhealthy, right? All this kind of harm, these are categorized as a harm to the physical. And then harm to the mental, like worry and guilty and anxious and depressions, and then jealousy, pride, anger, and how to say, stinginess and desire, ignorance. These are the mental unhealthy, right? These are the mental's wound. Physical wound we can perceive, but the mental wound, it is just experiential level, cannot perceive through our eyeball. So these, through express, we can express our mental unhealthy, our mental harm, but we cannot really show to the anyone other than experiencing oneself. Whatever I am having the mental harm, such as through the anxious, through the depressions, through the what do you call anger, or the through delusion, how to say, jealous, or through the worry, that worry, guilty, and anxious, and everything. These are all kind of like a mental harm. So here, when we're saying all the harm with which this world is rife, how it is rife, you see, when we count the harm, harm means harm to the physical body, harm to the mental, and then harm to the physical, how many different harms are there? And harm to the mental, how many different harms are there? Therefore, it is rife. It is many. Rife, right? Rife means like a rich. Rife means rich. Actually, we are so rich of harm uh, to our own physical body and to our own mental. We are so rich of harm. Nobody is poor in this world. of the harm. So that's what it means, that all the harm with which this world is rife. And all fear. So here again, the fear, so that how can say like this, fear, like a fear of disease, and fear of spirit harm, and fear of war, fear of strife, fear of enemy, fear of weapon, fear of poison, and fear of pandemic. Right now we are experiencing this all fear. Now here, this is all fear refers like this. And then the and suffering. So this suffering normally related with the human beings, commonly every human being must go through the same, this how to say, four, kind of like we can say like a natural suffering for being a human, such as suffering of born, suffering of ill, suffering of old age, and suffering of die. And then plus additional and suffering of not fulfilling one's wish, and suffering of feeling what when one does not wish, happening everything very rifely within oneself which we do not wish, and not happening or not coming around to oneself what we really wish. And that's also suffering. And then suffering of encountering with the people who we dislike. And then the suffering of the, what do you call it? Suffering of separating with those people who we like, who we hold as a dear, who we consider as a important, who we think as I must need that those helps, those people's helps, but separating from them. So these kind of main on a four difficulties by just being a human, which is inevitable, that one must go through. And then plus additional those another four, those are known as a suffering here. All fear, fear, and fear mainly we can generally known as a 8 grade fear. So those 8 grade fear, as I count some of them, like a fear of disease, fear of what do you call it, spirit harm, fear of war, fear of strife, fear of enemy, fear of weapon, fear of poison. And then there's also additional fear, like natural disaster, earthquake, fear of earthquake, fear of now, and fear of, I don't know. So those natural disasters, and kind of like these are all fear of the world. Within this world, we have all this type of fearness. And within this world, we also have all these types of suffering. And we do have within this world all those types of harmfulness towards one's physical and towards one's mental, as I mentioned earlier. Now this, all fear and suffering that there is in this world, it exists, right? Exists within ourselves, in this world, in this really world. Tekun dadu zimba le chungnas. So the clinging to the I has caused it. It is all happens because clinging to I. The source of all above mentioned harmfulness, fearness, sufferings are driven by the clinging to I. That's what it's saying. Tekun dadu zimba le chungnas. Dechen teko tala chishicha. So what am I to do with this great demon? When we say this, what do you sense? What am I to do with this great demons? In English. In Tibetan, when we say Dechen Diko Tala Chishicha, what is the useful to carrying it, keeping it? That's what it means. Does that sense giving by that? What am I to do with this great demon? That's exactly what Shandadeva is saying. So therefore, that normally we really hold most dearest to this, which we holding the most dearest in the world is the most, how to say, problem creator for oneself. Therefore, it is identified as a great demon or the evil. So this is also from Buddhist point of view, how one should understood as a demon. And that also give us understanding during those wrathful activity in a Vajrayana, wrathful activities such as a liberation activity, which we perform based on those wrathful deities, such as like a Vajrakilaya and Hayagriva and Yamantaka and so on, right? And this is what supposed to liberate when we use this effigy. This effigy is the kind of like a object to put in, so we can this invisible self-clinging to put into this effigy and liberate. Finished it. That's how now we need to understand why these wrathful activities, and especially when we're saying like liberation activities. So now this is the main thing that one needs to liberate. That is the one known as an evil demon, according to the Buddhist point of view. So this is the core demon, or the main demon from which every kind of demons or evils will going to produce and appears outside. And this demon, the self-clinging to the I, what that sense clinging to I has responsible, what the clinging of I it's really doing, what is his really main job. His main job is to continuously, constantly creates trouble within oneself to both physical and mental. Other than that, it does not have any responsible. That is his most responsible for being there. So the being there means being within myself. Okay, for instance, here I have this clinging, self-clinging. And this self-clinging which I am carrying within myself. And what is the main role of this clinging to self, being with me? What is his main job? His main job is to create difficulties, problems to me. That is his job. That is his responsible. Other than that, he does not have even 1% of responsible there. So that's how, now, mainly according to the Buddhist point of view, that is where we recognize, identify it as a demon. And then individual, each and every individual has a different level of clinging to I. Some has very strong, some mediocre, some less, some not at all. When you do not have all self-clinging, then that means the individual, whoever reached to the 8 Bhumi Bodhisattva stage, till that, more or less, they are self-clinging a little bit. Till that. And this is also needs to understand that here, normally when we talk about he has self-clinging, I have self-clinging, what's different? Yeah, there is different. There's a difference of level, differences of level. Based on this different level, and then how much one becomes sensitive or not, it depends on that. If one have so strong clinging to I, and then that particular person is become so sensitive. If one has mediocre clinging to I, and then that particular person also becomes the mediocre sensitive. If that person has a less self-clinging, and then that particular person also becomes the less sensitiveness. If we say, oh, doesn't matter, or even though everybody is sensitive, that doesn't make same. Still has a difference there. Just like I have money and you have money does not mean we are same. Maybe I have more money than you. Maybe you have more money than me. Right? Maybe you are richer than me. And each and every one here who is participating right now Everyone, their financial status is different. But we can conclude in one, everybody has finance. That doesn't make same, right? That does not necessarily make it same. Still could be difference there, right? It's very clear. Likewise, although we everybody have self-clinging, but clinging to I, also has a like like a money, like a finance, rich and poor and middle class. Everybody has money, but some has more money and some has mediocre money and some has less money and somebody does not have money at all. Likewise, yeah, just like that. When we human beings are so strange, our this mind is something that when it comes to the our own wishes, we want to make it everything as the same. But when it contradicts with our wishes, then we have to distinguish so carefully, which is something really strange. That is something so unexpressible things happening in this world. And then now, especially nowadays peoples, and particularly people who live in those developed countries, so-called like a first world country, developed country, those people are even more sensitive, that they get hurt even by gesture. The and immediately saying, way of he looking at me is very unfair. Way of she is looking at me is like a very rude to me. Immediately. And then little bit way of talking is kind of like a improper. Immediately we get hot temper. Hot temper, short temper. We become short temper. Hot temper, short temper. It is because of the that is now really proving that when this kind of situation occurs within oneself, when one and then becoming hot temper or short temper, that's proving that clinging to I is stronger. And then when that kind of situation occur, immediately gets anger, and then right after one moment and rethink, and then pressing down, that's a little bit better than just pulling out all this sensitiveness outwardly. And then some people who just ignore, who just don't care, doesn't affect, doesn't become that situation the condition for anger, hate. That's perfect. So why the particularly nowadays, and especially towards within those developed countries, so called, that people are becoming so short-tempered, even by gesture, the way of looking and way of talking, it's becoming like a intolerant, cannot tolerate. Even tiny, I'm talking about the little things. I'm not talking about these big problems, creating big problems. Even just tiny, like a way of looking, way of talking, kind of like a hinding, right? Taking immediately as a, oh, that means he's hinting to me. Hinting? Yeah.
Hinting, giving a signal.
Yeah. Why? That very sensitive. Even those tiny gesture and way of talking bothers them, bothers us. This is because of this clinging to I, that proving that clinging to I, we have very strong clinging to I. Although most of the human being, when something very kind of like the way of gesturing or way of talking, that kind of situations occur, but there is a different way of how to say disturbance has a difference, right? Some people get so disturbed, and some people get mediocre disturbed, some people get less disturbed, and some people does not get disturbed at all. And these are also the way to check whether how much one have stronger clinging to I, or mediocre, or less, or none. That's how we can examine oneself, how much one have the self-clinging. So anyhow, in short, this above mentioned all those harm and fear and sufferings are all caused by this clinging to I. So therefore, this clinging to I is the one which is the greatest demon. So what is the useful of carrying within oneself? That's what Shantideva mean here. So this is the one, and then after that, those are not so much difficult to understand here. Then next one, continue is going. Dangi yongsu matana dungal pangwar minute, jitar meni matana seba pangwar minutions. So first two line is the meaning, and second to clarify that meaning, he's using, Shantideva is using example. Like if this I is not relinquished wholly, sorrow likewise cannot be avoided. This is the meaning. Just like, for example, Just like if they do not keep away from fire, then that particular people or the person cannot escape from being burnt. It's easy, right? So if we wanna avoid all those sorrow means all those above mentioned, I mentioned, right? Harm and fear and suffering. This is all here combining in one word, sorrow. If this I is not relinquished wholly, sorrow likewise cannot be avoided. Just like if they do not keep away from fire, people cannot escape from being burnt. Tetar tagne shiwadang, shenji dungal shijechir, danyi shenla tangjadang, shenam dashin sungar shas. Therefore, to free myself from harm and others from their suffering, let me give myself to others, loving them as I know love myself. See, now this is the point here. Therefore, definitely one must implement exchange self with others. Because failing to able to exchange with others is the cost of every our problems, such as the above mentioned harm, fear, sufferings. And within this each harm, fear, suffering, I mentioned how many distinguish within them. Dani shenji wang gyurche yiche nyebar shejila semjin kunden matobar tani choji sheme sems. Now, after understanding all this, for I am now beneath the rule of others. Of this you must be certain, O my mind. And now no longer shall you have a thought that does not wish the benefit of beings. So Dani Shenji Wangjur Ches. Shenji Wangjur, that's how they translated that. For I am now beneath the rule of others. What does it mean? I belongs to others. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I am the servant of others. Of this you must be certain, O my mind. Means here it is saying like yichu nyebar shejila dani shenji wang gyuru che yichu nyebar shejilas. One must set our mind that now I am the servant for others, beneath the rule of others. Semjen kundan matobar, and now no longer shall I have thought that does not wish the benefit of beings. It means like the except then benefiting other beings, I should not think anything else. With this regards, I will tell you one very important message the conclusion of message from Shakyamuni Buddha, as well as the same message, but in a different word from Guru Padmasambhava. Their point is really coming to the same exactly, not even a 1% different. Conclusions that what Shakyamuni Buddha said in that sutra of the sutra of known as a Ngaljungi Do, the sutra of the womb sutra, mother's womb, right? Womb. Ngaljungi Do, how to Ngal is the womb, Jung is the deliver. Ngaljungi Do. Actually, that is the, I don't know how to translate that properly. Womb Sutra, maybe that's the best I have so far right now. In that sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha really concluded that what is the meaning of life, being a human? What one should do to fulfill our meaning of life, being a human. Very short sentence. He said, spending meaningful life being a human is the spending time on education, learning, studying, which can lead us towards better life. And then he said, next, based on that, and then particularly person whoever wish to achieve liberation, and then they must implement these two things, which is the first one. He said, meditate upon stainless mind. Timeloi tingzin gombadang. And then drawa tolwi tushuk. The second thing is put effort. The tulshuk is kind of like a now, it is like a kind of like a putting effort. Be very brave, or how to say, not really brave. Be really put effort, yeah. So the put effort to liberate being. This two things. Timelo itenzin gombada roatrovi tulshuk zeus. Here now. The persons who wish to have a better life and must educate themselves, and then top of that, person who willing to achieve liberation and then must implement these two things. Which is the first one is the meditating upon stainless mind, and then the second one is the putting effort to liberate others. This three thing makes our life spending in a meaningful way. In short now. So the now, based on this what Shakyamuni Buddha quotation, based on his quotation, that's how he concluded. What is the responsibility of being a human? As long as anyone who is engaging into it, as long as anyone who is spending one's time to accomplish these three things, we can say we're spending our life in a meaningful way. Likewise, exactly Guru Padma, this is exactly meaning, but the different word that Guru Padma Sambhava used it. That what he said was, Tengzin Samo Tseji Gomzochik, Semjen Penje Matok Che Shen Mes. A little bit different way of saying that what he said was, Tengzin Samo Tseji Gomzochik. He's saying this, meditate upon the profound, what's that? Tingzin is normally we translate as a shamatha, right? Shamatha. Tingzin samotsechi gomzuchi. That what he's saying is that meditate the single pointed mind. How can I put now this? This is a little bit, when I try to just translate direct from the Tibetan to here. In Tibetan, we're saying Tingzin Samo Tsechi Gomzu Chiks. One thing that what Guru Padma Sambhava said, that one should meditate upon this profound Tingzin Samo. Profound meditation. Meditate upon profound meditation with the single pointed mind. Okay, that's what he said. Isn't it exactly the same what Shakyamuni Buddha said? Meditate upon stainless mind. That's exactly the same meaning. The way of saying is different. And then what Shakyamuni Buddha said, put effort to liberate others, right? And then second meaning, and like how Guru Padma Sambhava said, Simchen Penje Matok Chushen. And then the second one, accept then benefiting beings. Except then benefiting beings, there is no dharma. That's what he said. Except for benefiting beings, there is no dharma. Understand now? Which means the person, whoever meditating upon profound meditation with the single pointed mind, one thing, and then benefiting for beings, second one, two, other than doing this, any of these two activity, there's no such a dharma except than this. This is it, what it called dharma practice. These are very conclusion. Normally, we ask question, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life, right? What's the meaning of my life? What should I do? What should I do to fulfill my responsibility of being human? So now this is it. This is it, what Shakyamuni Buddha said and what Guru Padma Sambhava said. And then here, what Shantideva was saying is that exactly, here what Shantideva was saying, that what Shakyamuni Buddha said, put effort to liberate others. What Guru Padma Sambhava said, benefit for others. And that's exactly Shantideva was saying here. That he's saying, for I am now beneath the rule of others. Of this I must be certain, O my mind. And now no longer should I have thought that does not wish the benefit of beings. Is it matching now, all this message? Then after having this sense, then one must try to implement in this way, which is Shiwa Migla Sobai Randan Dubar Rigmines. They didn't Migla Sobai Dela Lobar Shamerics. Tena Simjin Zoshade Dagi Lula Chitongwa, de Danteni, Chonechang Shendalani Pemberjuice. So after all setting one's mind in this way, then one should try to implement this, which is my sight or my eye, we can say my eye, my sight, and other sense, and so on, whatever I have belonging, this my limbs, faculties, and also the material belongings whatsoever. Obviously, since we including this all really limbs and organs, if these are all including their material is what? Materials are goes without saying. Here, Shandideva was saying, after setting one's mind in this way, then what one should to implement is then my sight and other sense. Now the property of others. To use them for myself would be improper. Isn't it? Now this is something, yes, being really honest, practical at the moment for us, it's challenge. Exactly 100% following this guideline. But this is something we should put as our goal, destiny, aim, and then try to improve day by day. So these scriptures help us that ultimately, or the until what destiny that one should develop the sense of caring about others. At the moment, it is a little bit difficult for us in a practical way. But this is what we can understand. We can intellectually, yes, it can understand. So we can put that as a destiny, aim. Till that, I will going to develop my sense of caring about others. That is what it is saying, that to use them for myself would be improper. And it is likewise disallowed to use my faculty against to their honor. Means, understand, right? We cannot treat them wrongly. Because the owner wants in this way. Now it is saying like something, this all so far what we considering this is mine is no longer mine. Now this is theirs. So therefore, when they want it, and we cannot misuse or the mistreat the what the owner wants, the way the owner wants to use it for. Yeah. So these are not easy. In a practical, it's not easy. But this is what Shantideva was saying. Through our mind training, we can make familiar and we can make it kind of like the easier gradually. Thus, sentient beings will be my chief concern, and everything I see my body has will all be seized and offered for the use and service of all other beings. So that's how that definitely one must implement exchange self with the others. So actually now until here, Shantideva kind of like a how to train to develop the sense of being able to exchange self with the others is actually all the technique or the method he provided. Now from here, he's also providing some additional method, to how to uh, make able oneself to able to exchange with others. The other methods here, what Shantideva using, again, the here Nyimbu Chebar Cheradu Gomba, which is the now from here, the meditate upon the some particular antidote. Yeah. So now Shantideva here providing some different method to meditate upon some particular antidote from here. So providing this some particular antidote, first briefly particular antidote and elaborate one by one. So mainly here Shantideva providing the particular antidote is three types of antidote, three different antidotes. So in brief, all these three contain, that's brief. And then later elaborating one by one how to implement those antidotes. So one can train to make it able to exchange with the others. So till now actually Shantideva introduced it, guided already. If that is sufficient, that's it. Now this is extra, additional antidote. But these antidotes are also very powerful. That first, this 140 stanza, it's brief. One stanza, it's brief. That mensok dagdo cheba dang shenye dunin da chene namto mebi semji su chado dena ngajal goms. Now this is Shantideva showing, introducing some particular antidote, which is meditate upon some particular antidote. Some particular antidotes are, here now it is saying, take others lower, higher, equal as oneself, as myself, as yourself, as myself. Okay, here, as myself, should be as myself, not yourself. This is, I think, one way of translating. This is the translating style. Always when we do this, yours, many of the times yours, right? Yeah. Yeah. So actually in Tibetan here it is very clear. Men so dadu chepadang. Da means I, self.
In English, it's clear too that it's talking to nature.
Huh?
Here in English, it's very clear it's talking about myself. Even
And
though it says yourself,
uh-huh.
it's clear that James David's talking about.
Take others lower, higher, equal as myself, yourself. Identify myself as others, yourself as others. Then without another thought, immerse myself in envy, pride, and rivalry. Rivalry. Brief, short, finish. You meditate that and how you feel now. Now this is really Shantideva showing the exact, letting us imagine by changing oneself and others. Put other in my shoe and put myself in other's shoe and then look how it feels. This is this logic. From here, we need to imagine all this. When we are studying this, we should exchange and look at from the other side and then imagine. Imagine what? Here Shantideva was saying, take other lower than myself, right? Take others lower
And higher and equal.
yeah, lower, higher, equal as yourself. Identify yourself as other. To look to the higher and then meditate. Look to the higher and meditate in way. Meditate in way. And look to the look to the higher and meditate in way, right? In way.
No, I think it's look to the lower and envy because they have lower people usually envy. Higher people usually have pride.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are equal standing usually have rivalry.
Rivalry.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So now this is a little bit, we have to use our intelligent, how to say, our mind more than usual now. It is a little bit tricky here. We need to put, exchange self and others. And then exactly look from that point of view and how you will feel. Look to the higher and meditate in way. Look to the lower, meditate pride, and look to the kind of like a equal, meditate the rivalry.
Competition.
In short, Thado Dendang Ajal Gom. When you meditate this way, you will feel it. Is it really good idea treating other as a what do you call in a different? So that meaning actually now elaborating one by one later next stanza, right next stanza. So elaborating this, meditating upon some particular antidote. So in elaborating from this stanza 141 to 146, those six stanza, it's elaborating the meditate upon envy, meditate jealous by exchanging with the lower. Understand? The first one here from stanza 141 to 146. Within this sixth stanza, it is introducing the particular antidote, which is the meditate jealousy by exchanging with the lower. Now, what we need to do in order to study this, we need to imagine one person who is lower than myself. What does it mean, lower? Then lower can be in a many different way. From the knowledge and wealth and look, right? And then the, what do you call it? Fame, reputation, right? Now imagine that normally, okay, now this is something we need to deal with the imaginations. To really practice this, we need to have this good imaginations. We need to imagine now. Doesn't matter whoever, okay? And doesn't matter it is truth or not. Normally, who I consider as a lower than me, as I talked right now, the lower means education wise, wealth wise, reputation wise, right? And then look wise, how to look wise, whatsoever, that who I think he or she is lower than me. Okay, so imagine same exactly that whoever you consider lower than you. I am here now imagining someone who I feel lower than me. And then same way, you also needs to imagine here now someone who you think is lower than you. Regardless of fact, not necessary. Don't forget it, the reality, right, at this moment. Just imagine whoever you feel that he or she is lower than you. Then we should study this. We exchange. After we able to imagine the particular person who I consider as a lower than me, put in front, and then now I should exchange. I should go myself in his shoe, or means like I become that particular person who I normally consider as a lower. Put it in front, looking at me. And then I become him. That particular person who I consider normally he is lower than me. Now he become me. Means he become higher now. Right? That particular person become higher. Now I exchange, right? Exchange. And then this lower person now become higher. Okay, this lower person I using in a screen also, like very low. Now it become high. This low person become high because I went there. I enter into him. And he enter into me. That's why I become lower. Right? Now he's become higher, I become lower. Now, but still I have that, okay. So I still have that sense, this is me, and I'm imagining, this is in my imagination. Okay? This is in my imagination. Still keep that sense. This is imagination. And then now meditate in this way, which is Dene kurje dane min, deshin dagi manyeching, dene toje dala me, dide dane dungalo. Dane lenam chebadang, dene dewa nyitune, dene jikden lache dang, dangmen yenden mebratas. Okay, now implement this to stanza. This is what Shantideva let us meditate now. Okay, now after exchanging this, right? He is lower first. Imagine someone who is lower than myself. And then after that, I exchange. Imagine that I change. He become higher. I become lower. Now look up and then meditate in way. Meditate in way in this way. He is the center of attention. I am nothing. Right? I am nothing. One way of meditating in way. In we and we. And likewise, and unlike him, I am poor without possession. He is rich. Right? Now here. He is rich, I am poor. And everyone looks up to him, but despising me. Despising, right? Despising me. In way, meditate in way now. Imagine, really imagine. This if you do not imagine, this doesn't get any sense then. This needs to imagine. And also meditate in this way that all goes well for him. For me, there's the only bitterness. And meditate in way. Right? Envy. Likewise, also meditate in this way. All I have is sweat and drudgery. While he is there sitting at his ease. In way, meditate in way. And also likewise, he is great, respected in the world, while I am underdog, a well-known nobody. Understand now? So, Shantideva, this is exactly what normally we do. This is exactly Shantideva saying what normally we human does. Looking into the someone who is higher. And then we generate those in way, right? We generate those in way. That in these 6 different way, right? First is stanza, each line one way. Each line is introducing the meditating, the in way. And then the second is stanza, 2 line once, right? So now if we elaborate, then it becomes like, okay, for instance here, he is the center of attention. Like he gets reverence from peoples, right? He get how to say, well respected, or reverence, yeah, the reverence from others, I did not get. I'm nothing means I'm not getting reverence from others. That's why I'm jealous. I'm envy to that person. Likewise, he is kind of like a obtaining or accomplishing, obtaining the food, clothes, reputation, and fame, and so on. I'm not getting any gain, and jealousing in this way. And likewise, that particular person, that he is looks up to him. Look up to him means praising him by saying he is the scholar, he is the competent, he is the capable, where to me everybody despising, incapable, uneducated, incapable, right? Incapable, uneducated, incompetence, right? Incompetent, despising me in this way. Now, what does despising now mean? I mean, okay, and then all goes well for him, like this. Now, all goes well to him, like goes well to him means both within his physical and mental. He doesn't experiencing any illness, any harmful spirit, harmful, and so on. And then he is very goes well for him, that he have wealth, he have everything is progressing to him. For me, there's only bitterness. Means I have ill, I have spirit harm, I am poor, I am in a lawsuit by someone. I am in an argument with someone. I am in a conflict with someone. Bitterness. Right? And then here, all I have is sweat and drudgery. Drudgery. That drudgery, that I have to be servant, I have to be slave to the others, I have to work under some company, I have to do hard work, not just work. But while he is there sitting at his ears, doing nothing, but still he is fine. That's why I'm jealous, right? That's why I feel envy. Envy. Likewise, he is great respected in the world. And me considering as a like an underdog. That's it, underdog, right? So now this is what really Shantideva, this method is that he wants us to feel it. Feel it. That normally we do this to someone. Sometimes we may feel this is not good. Sometimes we don't feel even this is not good. We feel he deserved that. Right? She deserved that. He deserved that. So now through this two imagination, this two stanza imagination, first we need to imagine like that, right? First, exchange one lower. Imagine one lower person in front of you, and then after that, exchange myself. One self goes to that lower position, and then that lower person puts to your position, which is considering as a high. The law now it becomes, before it's like this, one is low, and the front is low, and behind this is high. Now exchange, imagine exchange, and front become higher and one become lower, and then look up, and then meditate all this two stanzas meaning. Meditate in way, meditate jealous. Normally we don't call the meditate jealous, right? Now the Shantideva very his way of teaching is like meditate jealous now. So through this meditation, what we can really sense is this. Normally, when someone does envy or jealous to me, that I do not really sense that how maybe that is improper. And now this, through this meditation, through these imaginations, one can able to see very clearly that inveighing to those higher person and jealousing to those person who have more than I, it's how it is improper to think in this way, to jealous in this way, to inveight in this way. When we scrutinize with this imagination, then we can really sense the faults of jealous. How bad it is, how unnecessary it is. When we imagine in this way, then we can very clearly sense that when I do invade to someone, this is exactly what is happening. So we can have that sense of being envy or jealous towards anyone. It's improper. It is something in a very clear way. As I told you earlier, normally sometimes we sense, yes, when I get jealous to someone, immediately after I feel like, oh, this is something I should not do. Oh, this is just my bad. But sometimes we forget. We are unable to see this, how it is improper properly. But when we put ourselves in others and then we being jealous to him, then we can sense, oh, this jealousing in this way is something very improper. 100% sure this is improper because it's coming to me, right? I do not want anyone to jealous to me like this way. So if I do not want anyone to jealous me in this way, that means I should not jealous to anyone or to others in the same way too. That's the main message here now. One thing within this two stanza. Okay, maybe we should stop here now. Time is over. Okay, anyway, this is so interesting. Okay, we need to use our intelligence and also use our imagination. These teachings only can be understood if we imagine properly. If we do not imagine properly, then what this is talking about, we feel that way. Meditating jealous. Nobody guided me till now that meditate jealous. The Shantideva is the one who is guiding me to meditate jealous, meditate envy, and then also meditate rivalry and meditate pride. Anyway, so these all three things, what is the main point? I will tell you here in short. What is the main point is that when we have emotion envy or jealous, whatsoever we call, likewise, when we have emotion rivalry, competitions, and when we have that sense or the emotion pride, I am better than him, these emotions, as long as any of these emotions remain within myself, I will never ever going to ever able to exchange myself with the others. In short, is this. So really train to able to change oneself to the others. That we definitely needs to lay it low and eventually eradicate these three emotions. That's the main message anyway, short. And then we can go with this tricky imaginations continues from tomorrow. Okay. So we do dedication now. We dedicate this merit so everyone can imagine properly and then meditate, able to meditate the envy and rivalry and pride. Dedicate this merit and make these aspirations, okay? As Shantideva guiding, so we can make aspirations that I may able to meditate properly envy. I may meditate able properly rivalry. I may able to meditate properly pride. So I can get rid of all these emotions. Then I can able to exchange with, there's no difficulty for me to able to change with the others. These three emotion is actually, yeah, one which really preventing us to able to exchange with the others. Okay. Sunam de tamje zigba ni topne ni ben danam pamje ne shega nanchi wala chuba yi sibin zolen doan dovarshu jambal bawe jidara kemba dan kundu sambo te yan de shende te da kunje jesu dalo jen gewan de da tamje rabdo gewan de she okun sunam yeshe chozo ne Sunam yeshe le chungwe, tamba kunyin tobara shu, sanje kusum nyebe chen lam dang, chunye menjur denbe chen lam dang, gendun meche denbe chen lam ji, jidara ngowa melam dubar shu. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscience, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the wave of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming. By conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambal Yang, and in the same way as Samandabhadra, Kundusambo, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, sunam, and wisdom, yeshe, and may they thereafter obtain the two holy bodies which result from this two accumulation. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sangye, who obtained the three bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmata, Chönyi, by the blessing of the infallible aspiration of the Sangha, Gendun, may this prayer of dedication be accomplished just as it is. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.
Thank
Stay
you,
away
Guru.
from it.